लोकैकदृक्प्रद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो कलिद्वान्तोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तितः परमानन्दपाठाय प्रेमवर्षक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोऽस्तु ते मदेकबन्धो मत्सङ्गिन् मद्गुरो मन्महादन मन्निष्ठारकमद्भाग्य मदानन्द नमोऽस्तु ते असाधु साधुतादायिन् अतिनीचोच्चतारक हेन हाणमुञ्च कदाचिन्मां प्रेम्णा हृत्कण्ठयोस्फुर. We will begin with the 19th anuccheda. Last time we began, but getting important. So the 19th anuccheda till the 37th anuccheda. The Swarupa Lakshana of the Jīva-tattva. 21 Swarupa Lakshana of the Jīva-tattva are spoken. So far in the Paramatma Sandarbha, in the first anuccheda, Kshetra and Kshetrajna. The two types of Kshetrajna, Jīva-tattva and Paramatma, both were described. The first anuccheda, the Tatastha Lakshana of the Jīva-tattva was described. And the Paramatma was described. And then from Anucheda 2 to 7, three manifestations of the Paramatma. Karano Dakshai Vishnu, Shiro Dakshai Vishnu, and Garbho Dakshai Vishnu. These three were discussed. And then from verse Anucheda 8 to 18, the Gunavataras of Paramatma, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, they were described, and how Vishnu is inclusive and superior to Brahma and Shiva. That was also we discussed. How the living entity attains the highest Shreya by the worship of Vishnu. This was the subject matter we discussed from 8 to 18. Now the next section, 19 to 37, very important section, the Tatastha Shakti, that is Jīva-tattva. The Swarupa Lakshana of the Jīva-tattva are described. Coming 1 minute. So, अथ परमात्म परिकरेषु जीवस्तस्य च तटस्थलक्षणं क्षेत्रज्ञयेताः इत्यत्रोक्तम्. Paramatma Parikareshu, the Jīva-tattva is counted among the Parikara, the attendants of Paramatma. The Tatastha Lakshana, the extrinsic characteristics of the Jīva-tattva were stated previously in 5.11.12. This verse we discussed in detail in the very first Anucheda. Namely, the Jīva-tattva is the conditional knower of the presentational field, that is Kshetra, of its own body-mind complex. Jīva-tattva is described as a Kshetrajna, the knower of the field. Swarupa Lakshanam Padmotra Kandadikam Anusritya Shri Ramanujacharya Matacharya Varena Parama Vriddha Shri Vaishnava Sampradaya Guruna Shri Jamatru Muninopadishtam or Munina Upadishtam Muninopadishtam. The Swarupa Lakshana, the intrinsic characteristics of the Jivatma were imparted by Sri Jamatru Muni. He is also called as Varavara Muni. Another name is Manavala Mamunigal in Tamil. Were imparted by Sri Jamatru Muni, a very senior teacher. Parama Vriddha, a very senior teacher of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya in the line of Sri Ramanujacharya. And he has given the Swarupa Lakshana of the Jivatma based on the Padma Purana. Padmottara Kandadika Manusritya, who has followed the Padma Purana, where it is said in the course of explaining Pranava. Tatra Pranava Vyakhyane Padmottara Kandam Yatha. While describing the Pranava mantra, Padma Purana describes the Swarupa Lakshana of the Jivatma. Jnanashrayo Jnanaguna Chetana Prakrite Paraha. So, in the Jnanashrayo Jnanaguna Chetana Prakrite Paraha Najato Nirvikarascha Ekarupa Swarupa Bhag Anurnityo Vyaptishila Chidanandatma Kastata Ahamarto Vyakshetri Bhinnarupa Sanatanaha Adahyo Chedyo Yak Kledyastva Shoshokshara Yevacha Evamadi Gunair Sheshabhuta Parasyavai Makare Nochate Jiva Kshetrajna Paravan Sada Dasa Bhuto Harereva Nanyasyaiva Kadachana Makarena Uchate. In the Pranava Omkara, the Makara is that Makara in the Pranava Omkara signifies the Jivatma. Who is signifies the Jivatma. And the Jivatma is Jnanashraya, the witness. So Makarena Uchate Jiva Kshetrajna Paravan Sada. The Makara in the Pranava signifies the Jivatma, who is the Kshetrajna. Who is the Kshetrajna is the knower of the Kshetra, or it can mean the witness of the Kshetra. Witness of the Kshetra. And Dasabhuto Harereva, and who is always dependent upon and subservient to the Supreme Self Paramatma. Dasabhuto Harereva Nanyasyaiva Kadachana, always dependent and subservient to the Paramatma. And is constitutionally a servant of Lord Hari, Dasabhuto Harer, and never of anyone else. Na Anyasyaiva Kadachana. Na Anyasyaiva Kadachana, never of anybody else. And then further, Jnanashraya, he is the conscious substratum endowed with the attribute of knowledge. Jnana Guna Chetana, he is Jnanashraya, endowed with the attribute of knowledge. And Chetana, he is conscious. And Prakrite Paraha, Prakrite Para, beyond matter. Na Jato, he is never born. Nirvikara, he undergoes no transformation. Ekarupa, he is of one unchanging form. Swarupa Bhag, situated in his own essential identity. Anur, atomic in size. Nitya, eternal. Vyapti Shila, pervasive of the body. Chidanandatmaka Stata. Chidanandatmaka Stata, intrinsically of the nature of Chit and Ananda, consciousness and bliss. So Sat aspect is already described as eternal. Satchit Ananda. Aham Artha. Aham Arthovyaya. Aham Artha. He is the referent of the pronoun I. When we say I, that I refers to the Jīva-tattva.
Prabhuji,
Huh.
Prabhuji, in the previous word we read that about the Swarupa Rakshana, that he takes the complete shelter of the Lord. So there, how he sees the Lord Shiva, that so he understands everything about what we read in the last few anucchedas. That he understands that Lord Shiva is the means he is like a curd and all that. So he understands that, and then he takes the shelter of the Lord fully, and also respects Lord Shiva. So like that is to be understood, no?
Yes. Lord Shiva is, like that only. That's why we discussed the position of Lord Shiva previously. Lord Shiva, a devotee sees Lord Shiva in relation to Krishna. A devotee sees everything in relation to Krishna. What is the Lord Shiva's position in relation to Krishna? That is what is described. Kshiram yatha dadivikara vishesha yogat. Sanjayate nahitata pratagasti hetu. Yash shambhutam apitata samapaitikariya govindam adi purusham tamaham vicha. So he sees Lord Shiva the way it is described in the Shastra.
Prabhuji, is it okay to is it okay to explain this makara or makare?
Makara, the Om, Pranava Omkara refers to the Om, na? Pranava basically refers to Om. In the Om, there's a Makara is there. Om. That Makara refers to Jīva-tattva. Makara means the letter Ma. When we chant Om, we are actually chanting that Ma sound is there, that refers to Jīva-tattva.
Thank you.
So Aham Artha, so he is the referent of the pronoun I. Avyaya, imperishable. Kshetri. Kshetra refers to the body. Kshetri refers to the body. Bhinna Rupaha is distinct from other jivas. Sanatanaha, never ending. And then Adakya, Achedya, Akledya, Ashoshya, Akshara. Krishna says in 2.22, same thing. Cannot be burnt, cannot be cut, cannot be wetted or dried, and is not subject to decay. Akshara. Yevam adigunair yuktaha. He is endowed with these and other attributes. Shesha bhuta parasya vai. Shesha bhuta. He is indeed the irreducible remainder of parasya, of the complete whole. He is the irreducible remainder. That means he is the integral part of the complete whole. Mamaivamsha Jivaloke Jivabhuta Sanatana. So these are the verses of the Padma Purana. Based on these verses, Jamatra Muni has composed 4 shlokas. he has almost repeated the same qualities of Jīva-tattva, plus he has added 3 more qualities. You will see that. You can repeat after me. So, Sri Jamatru Munina Pyupadishtam Yata. Jamatru Muni similarly instructs in 4 verses. Atmana Devo Nanaro Tiryak. Atmana Devo Nanaro.
Atmana Devo Nanaro
Natiryak Sthavaro Nacha.
Natiryakshtavaro Nacha
Nadeho Nendriyam Naiva.
Nadeho Nendriyam Naiva
Manaprano Nanapi Dhihi.
Manah Prano Nanapidhi
न जडो न विकारी च
न जड़ो न विकारी च
ज्ञानमात्रात्मको न च
ज्ञानमात्रात्मको न च
स्वस्मै स्वयं प्रकाशः स्यात्
स्वस्मै स्वं प्रकाशः स्यात्
एकरूपः स्वरूपभाक्
एकरूपः स्वरूपभाक्
चेतनो व्याप्तिशीलश्च
चेतनो व्याप्तिशीलश्च
चिदानन्दात्मकस्तथा
चिदानन्दात्मकस्तथा
अहमर्थप्रतिक्षेत्रम्
अहमर्थः प्रतिक्षेत्रम्
भिन्नो भिन्नोणु भिन्नोर्नु भिन्नोणुर्नित्यनिर्मलः
भिन्नोऽनुर्नित्यनिर्मलः
तथा ज्ञातृत्वकर्तृत्व
तथा ज्ञातृत्व कर्तृत्व
भोक्तृत्व निजधर्मकः
उक्तृत्व निजधर्मकः
परमात्मैकशेषत्वः
परमात्मिक शेषत्व
स्वभावः सर्वदा स्वतः
स्वभावः सर्वदा स्वतः.
So the meaning, Atma na devo, na naro, na tiryak, na stavaro. Atma is neither God nor human. Tiryak means subhuman. We can say a neuter, subhuman. Na stavaro, nor is it an immovable being, like a tree, mountain, etc. Na deho, it is not the body. Na indriya, not the senses. Naiva manaha, it is not the mind. Na pranaha, nor the vital force. Napi dihi, it is not the intelligence. But Atma, what it is not, it is described. Na jado, it is not inert. Na vikari, not mutable. Vikari means that which is mutable, that which can be transformed. Na vikari means not mutable. Na jnanamatraatmakaha. Jnanamatraatmakaha na cha. Nor mere consciousness. Jnanamatraatmaka na. Not mere consciousness. And then Swasmai Swayam Prakashaha. It is conscious of itself. Swasmai. Swayam Prakashaha. It is self-luminous. Syad Eka Rupaha. It is of one form. Swarupa Bhak. It is situated in its own essential nature. Chetana. So we are going through the shleka. So Chetano Vyaptishila. Chetana. It is conscious. Vyaptishila means pervades the body. Chidanandatmakas tata. It is intrinsically of the chit, consciousness and bliss. Chidanandatmakas tata. Ahamartha. It is direct referent of the pronoun I. Pratikshetram binnaha. That means it is distinct in each body. that there is one theory which is called as Eka Jīva-vada. There is only one Jīvatma. But it is clearly mentioned. In every body, there is a different Jīvatma. Pratikshetram binnaha. Anuhu, smallest atomic in size. Smallest particle without further parts. Nityaha, nirmalaha, eternal and nirmala, unblemished. Tata jnatritva, kartritva, bhoktritva, nijadharmakaha. It is intrinsically endowed with the characteristics of knowership, jnatritva, kartritva. It is intrinsically endowed with agency, kartritva, and bhoktritva, experiential capacity. And paramatmaika sheshatva swabhava sarvada swataha. It is by nature, by its own inner constitution, is to be always the unitary, irreducible remainder of the complete whole Paramatma. Paramatmaika sheshatva. Sheshatva is described as, it's translated as the irreducible remainder of the complete whole, Paramatma. And then further, Shri Ramanuja Bhashyanusarena Vyakhyacha Yam. The explanation is given in accordance with the commentary of Shri Ramanuja on the Brahma Sutra. This explanation is given in accordance with the commentary of Sri Ramanuja and the Brahma Sutra. Tatra devaditvam nirastamevasti tattva sandarbhe. So out of these characteristics, the first characteristic, that is not a deva, not a human, not a tiriyak, what Jīvatma is not. The first characteristic, that Jīvatma is not a god, human or any other species of life, was already discussed in the Tattva Sandarbha. Which sloka? 11.3.39. This shloka was discussed in Tattva Sandarbha. In this shloka, the first characteristic is already explained. You can repeat after me this shloka. This is from the Navayogendra Samvad, 11.3.39. Andeshu peshishu tarush vinishchiteshu.
Shyamla Mataji.
Deshu peshishu tarush vivinprateshu.
Prano hi jivamupadhavati tatra tatra.
Prano hi jivamupadhavati tatra tatra.
Sanne yadindriya gane hamicha prasupte.
Sanne yadindriya hamicha prasupte.
Kutastha ashayamrute tadanusmritirnaha.
Kutastha ashayamrute tadanusmritirnaha.
Prabhuji, the second line, can you just repeat, please? The whole thing, can you say?
Sanne yadindriya gane hamicha prasupte. Kutastha ashayamrute tadanusmritirnaha. So, just as the vital force, just as the prano hi jivam upadavati, just as the vital force, that is prana, it remains unchanging as it accompanies the individual living entity in whichever different species it may appear. Andeshu, Some species are born from the eggs. Yeah, Peshishu. Some species are born from the womb. Or Tarushu. Tarushu refers to the trees. Trees are born from the seeds. Or Vinishchiteshu. Some species are born from the perspiration. The prana remains unchanging as it accompanies the Jīva-tattva in whichever different species it may appear. Similarly, the Atma is unchanging in the state of deep sleep. Prasupte means deep sleep. Atma is unchanging in the state of deep sleep. When the senses and ego are deactivated and there is a freedom from the subtle body. Sanne yad indriya gane aham amicha prasupte. So when the senses and ego are deactivated and there is a freedom from the subtle body, which is the cause of transformation. Yet upon awakening, the remembrance comes to us that we slept peacefully without awareness of anything. This indicates that the deep sleep, the self, that in deep sleep, the self is present as a devoid of the content of sensual, mental, or egoic awareness. So, basically, just like the life here remains unchanging, although it accompanies the Jīva-tattva in various bodies, the life here remains unchanging. Similarly, the Jīva-tattva remains unchanging in the state of deep sleep. So there are three states. We have discussed this example many times. Jagrati, Swapna and Sushupti. Jagrati is a state where the karmendriyas and the jnanendriyas, mind, everything is active. Subtle body is also active, gross body is also active. Swapna is a state where the gross body is inactive, senses are inactive, but the mind is active. In the state of dreaming, the mind is active. Sushupti is a state where the gross body and subtle body both are inactive. So the Jagrati state is like a mobile phone which is switched on when all that is like a Jagrati state. Swapna state is like the mobile phone in the flight mode. Some apps are not working. The flight mode, WhatsApp is not working, email is not working. But certain other apps are working. Sushupti is like the mobile phone, the switched off state. But when we get up from the deep sleep, we say that I slept peacefully. We say that I slept peacefully. That means even in the deep sleep, somebody was active. That is why we say I slept peacefully. I had a deep sleep. So who was that person who is active? That person is the Jīva-tattva. In the deep sleep, mind is not working, intelligence is not working, all the senses are not working. But still we say that I slept peacefully. That means it refers to the Jīva-tattva. It shows the presence of the Jīva-tattva. So the Atma is unchanging in the state of deep sleep when the senses and ego are deactivated. And there is a freedom to the subtle body. The subtle body is the cause of transformation, but in the state of deep sleep, even that subtle body is not active. But upon awakening, we say that I had a deep sleep. I had a good sleep. So this indicates that in the state of Sushupti, the deep sleep, the self Atma is present as a pure witness, devoid of the content of the senses, mind or ego. So this is the proof that Atma is different from the mind, intelligence and senses. So, the Atma is present as a pure witness, devoid of the content of the senses and mind or ego. So this shows that the Atma is not any of the body. Atma is not the body. Atma is not the intelligence. Because in a deep sleep, mind is not working, intelligence is not working, senses are not working. The Atma is distinct from all these things. So what is the proof? Because after the deep sleep, when we get up, we say that I had a very good sleep. All of us have experienced. So this shows that Atma is distinct from all these things. So that is the first characteristic. Atma is neither God, nor human, nor subhuman, etc. And then, Ityanena dehaditvam nirasyannaha. The second characteristic. Dehaditvam nirasyannaha. The second characteristic, that the Jiva is distinct from the body, senses and so on. The second characteristic is that na deho nendriyam naiva mana prano na napidi. So the first characteristic is taking this first line. Atma na devo na naro na tiryak stavaro nachan. Second characteristic is that na deho nendriyam mana prano na napidihi. This is the second characteristic. The Jīva-tattva is distinct from the body, senses and so on, is stated by Bhagavan Sri Krishna. For that he quotes the 11.10.8. Somebody can repeat. Vilakshana stula sukshmad.
Vilakshana sthula sukshmad.
Dehad atmekshita swadrik.
Dehatmatmekshitak swadrik.
Yathagnir dharuno dakhyad.
Yathagnir daruno.
Yathagnir dharuno dakhyad.
Yathagnir daruno
Dakhyad.
dahyad
Daha konya prakashakah.
daha konya prakashakah.
So the Atma, which is the witness, Swadrik, and self-aware. Self-aware means, Swadrik means self-aware. Atma, which is the Ikshita. Ikshita means witness. Which is the witness, and Swadrik, self-aware, is Vilakshana, is distinct from the Stula Sukshma Dehat. It is distinct from the subtle and the gross bodies. Atma is the Ikshita, witness, and Swadrik, self-aware, is distinct from the Stula and Sukshma Deha. Analogy is given. Yatagnir daruno dakhyat dahakonya prakashaka. Yatagni, the same way that fire which burns and illumines. Dahakaha prakashaka. Dahaka means burns. Prakashaka means it illumines. But that fire is different from the wood that is burnt. Daruno dakhyat. Just like the fire is distinct from the wood, similarly, Atma is distinct from the Stula and the Sukshma body. Vilakshanatve hetuhu. Ikshita tasya drashta prakashakascha swayam tu swadrik saprakasha iti Sri Bhagavan. So the reason the Atma is distinct is that, why it is distinct to the subtle body and gross body? Because Atma is the witness and Atma is the illuminator. Atma is the witness of the subtle and gross body. And Atma is the illuminator of the subtle and gross body. Subtle and gross body are not the witness. Atma is the witness and Atma illuminates the subtle and gross body. That is why Atma is distinct from the Sthula and Sukshma Deha. But the Atma itself is self-aware. Swadrik. That means it is self-luminous, Swaprakasha. So there's a long commentary. Let's see whether we'll not be able to cover this today. So let us go through the commentary. Whatever we can come. So up to this point, Jiva Goswami described the ontology of the Paramatma. So he explained Paramatma is three manifestations of the supreme regulator of the metacosm. Supreme regulator of the metacosm means supreme regulator of the entire cosmic manifestation. That is Mahavishnu. And supreme regulator of the macrocosm. That means regulator of the individual Brahmanda. That is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And supreme regulator of the microcosm. Microcosm refers to the Jīva-tattva. So supreme regulator of the microcosm, that refers to Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And also we saw his identity among the trinity of gods. So Paramatma is the regulator of the innumerable Jīva-tattmas and the Prakriti. Matter, spirit and the controller of both. Paramatma is controlling, regulating the Prakriti and the Jīva-tattva. So in order to understand the regulator, it is necessary to understand the regulated. Just like to understand a manager, one also needs to understand the field of action of the manager. So similarly, so therefore, as such, realization of the Jīva-tattva precedes that of the Paramatma. First we understood the regulator, that is Paramatma. And then to understand the regulator, that is Paramatma more completely, we have to understand the field of action of the Paramatma. So therefore we are understanding the Jīva-tattva. The Jīva-tattva is regulated by the Paramatma. So therefore Jiva Goswami began his entire discussion of the knowable with the famous verse, Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yadjnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. And then his exposition of the knowable continued through the Bhagavat and Paramatma Sandarbha. In the Bhagavat Sandarbha, he described about the Brahman and the Bhagavan aspect. And in the Paramatma Sandarbha, he is describing about the Paramatma. So on the basis of the contextual correlation, Prasanga Sangati, in which the succeeding topics are auxiliary to the preceding ones, Jiva Goswami first took up the discussion of the Paramatma, regulator, and not the Jīva-tattva. So he discussed the Paramatma, and now he begins a new topic delineating the essential Swarupa Lakshana of the Jīva-tattva, starting from the anuccheda going up to 47. So Jiva Goswami began by citing 4 verses from the Padma Purana, which describe the nature of the Jiva. Then he quotes 4 verses of the Jāmatra Muni, which paraphrase the Padma Purana verses. So Ramya Jāmatra Muni was from the Ramanuja Sampradaya, popularly known as Varavara Muni or Manavala Mamuni, the founder of the Tengalai school. Sri Sampradaya has two branches, Tengalai and Vadagalai. He is the founder of the Tengalai school. So in the upcoming Anuchedas, Jiva Goswami is going to analyze the statement of the Jāmatra Muni.
Supermarket la irukuma.
So now Jiva Goswami is going to analyze the statements of the Jāmatra Muni describing the Swarupa Lakshana of the Jīva-tattva. And Jiva Goswami will provide supporting references from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So one may get the question, why does Jiva Goswami prefer the verses of Jāmatra Muni instead of the Padma Purana verses? Because Jāmatrimuni practically repeats the same characteristics of the Jīva-tattva from the Padma Purana. So one guesses that in the Jāmatrimuni's verses, Jāmatrimuni adds 3 characteristics that are not stated explicitly in the Padma Purana verses. What are those 3 characteristics? That's what we saw, that Jnatritva, Kartritva, Bhoktritva. These are not explicitly stated in the Padma Purana verses, but these characteristics are explicitly stated in the Jāmatrimuni's verses. Jnatritva, knowership, doership, and Bhoktritva, experiential capacity. So the Advaita Vedanta school do not accept these 3 as the Swarupa Lakshana of the Jīva-tattva. These 3 characteristics of the Swarupa Lakshana of the Jīva-tattva. Rather, they view them as a limiting adjuncts, upadhis of the self, having empirical validity only. They say that Jnatritva, Kartritva, and Bhoktritva, they are not the Swarupa Lakshana of the Jīva-tattva. They are present only in the Vyavaharika level. These 3 are present to the Jīva-tattva only in the Vyavaharika level, according to the Advaita Vedantis. But Jāmatrimuni explicitly states these are also Jnatritva, Kartritva, and Bhoktritva are the Swarupa Lakshana of the Jīva-tattva. So these views stand diametrically opposed to the core teaching of the theistic Vedanta, the Vedanta of the Vaishnavas. So for Vaishnavas, it is crucial to acknowledge the Jīva-tattva as eternally distinct from the Paramatma and subservient to the Paramatma. And in order for this to be possible, Jiva must be inherently endowed with knowership, inherently endowed with Kartritva, and inherently endowed with Bhoktritva. So therefore, therefore, Jiva Goswami prefers to use the Jāmatrimuni verses, because Jāmatrimuni verses explicitly states these 3 qualities also as the inherent qualities of the Jīva-tattva: Jnatritva, Kartritva, and Bhoktritva. So every object has 2 types of defining characteristics: Swarupa Lakshana and Tatastha Lakshana. This also I think we discussed. Swarupa Lakshana is the inherent the purpose of the Lakshana is to distinguish one object from other objects. If you have to distinguish cow from a goat, then you have to give a unique definition of the cow. If you have to define goat in such a way that it is distinct from all other animals, you have to give a unique definition, Swarupa Lakshana, the Tatastha Lakshana of the goat. So, Vyavrittir Vyavaharo va Lakshanasya Prayojanam. The purpose of defining the characteristic of an object is in order to determine how to deal with it appropriately. So, is to distinguish it from others, both similar and dissimilar, in order to determine how to deal with it appropriately. Basically, 2 purposes. Vyavrittir Vyavaharo va Lakshanasya Prayojanam. The purpose of giving the characteristics of an object is to distinguish the object from other objects, and secondly, Vyavahara. In order to deal with that object appropriately in our practical day-to-day dealings. So, Tatastha Lakshana is the extrinsic characteristics. are the incidental defining characteristics. Just like suppose you are going to somebody is asking, where is the house of Ramesh in this street? And the person says that, see, I'm just coming from that street. So you go to the street, you'll see that in one of the top of the house, there is a crow sitting. That house is the house of Ramesh. So here he is giving a characteristic of the house of Ramesh as the house in which crow is present. This is a extrinsic or tatastha lakshana of the house. The tatastha lakshana is not permanently present in an object. Crow is currently sitting, but crow can leave any moment. Tatastha lakshana is that characteristic which is not permanently present in an object, but tatastha lakshana is used to distinguish the object from another object. You can distinguish the house of Ramesh from other houses by the presence of the crow there, but it is not permanently present there. So the tatastha lakshana do not belong to its essential nature, but by which it is commonly recognized. But swarupa lakshana are those that are part of the object itself. They are intrinsic to the object. The tatastha lakshana of the Jīva-tattva were given in 5.11.12. In the first anuccheda, we discussed that. There it was said that the Jīva-tattva is conditioned by the mind and thus bound to the material world. But the pure, unbound, unconditioned being is called the Atma, whereas the conditioned being is called the Jiva. This is another distinction between the term Atma and Jiva. Atma is defined by the pure, unbound, unconditioned being. Conditioned being is called the Jiva. So the cause of the conditioning of the Jīva-tattva is that there is no cause, because the conditioning is from beginningless time. Anadi avidya. The cause of the conditioning is beginningless ignorance. Beginningless ignorance of the self's real identity or swarupa, which results in absorption in the mental modifications. Bayam dvitiya biniveshatasya ishad apetasya viparyayo smritihi. Dvitiya abhiniveshatasya. Because Jīva-tattva, because of forgetting his swarupa, is absorbed in the dvitiya, something secondary. He is absorbed in the mental modifications. He is absorbed in the body and mind. So in this anuccheda, Jiva Goswami begins a description of the Jīva-tattva swarupa lakshana. So there are different schools of Indian philosophy. In each of the different schools of philosophy, they also have concepts of the Jīva-tattva. So a summary of these views is presented here. Some of the prominent schools are Cārvāka school or Lokayata school, Buddhism, Jainism, Nyaya Vaisheshika, Mīmāmsa, Yoga and Sankhya, and Advaita Vedanta. Like Nyaya and Vaisheshika, they have similar understanding of Jīva-tattva. Yoga and Sankhya, they have similar understanding of Jīva-tattva. Therefore, they are clubbed together. So we are going to analyze each of the school, how they understand Jīva-tattva, and then we are going to understand what is the true understanding of the Jīva-tattva, what is Swarupa Lakshana of the Jīva-tattva, as given by the Padma Purana and the Jāmatra Muni, and as confirmed by the Srimad Bhagavatam. So before we understand the Swarupa Lakshana of the Jīva-tattva, we are understanding the understanding of the Jiva according to the various other schools. So in the Cārvāka school, there are no original works present of Cārvāka school available at present. So whatever we understand the Cārvāka philosophy is basically concluded from the Purva Paksha of the other schools. Purva Paksha, like when we study Nyaya Shastra, Cārvāka school does not accept the Ishvara. So Nyaya Shastra refutes the Nirishvara Vada of the Cārvāka school. Therefore, you can understand the Cārvāka school philosophy from the Nyaya Shastra. So, from the Purva Paksha, we can understand. The Sarva Darshana Sangraha of Madhvacharya, a work belonging to the 14th century, provides a summary of the Cārvāka school. A Prabandha Chandrodaya, an allegorical play, also describes the salient features of the Cārvāka school. Saddarshana Samuchaya, a work by Haribhadra Suri, also summarizes the Cārvāka school. And reference to the Cārvāka school is also found in the old works of Buddhism, such as Digha Nikaya and Majjhima Nikaya. Brihaspati Sutra was supposed to be the original text of the Lokayata school. So basically, Cārvāka school considers the body-mind complex to be the Atma. Body is the Atma. That's what they say. There is no Atma separate from the body. So Cārvāka holds that consciousness is an epiphenomenon. Basically, consciousness is arising from the combination of chemicals, the outcome of the combination of material elements. So people may not know the word Cārvāka, but Cārvāka philosophy, majority of the people in Kali Yuga are leading their life by the Cārvāka philosophy. Cārvāka philosophy does not accept Papa Punya. Then people irresponsibly lead their life without worrying about the future consequences of the action. They are actually living by the Cārvāka school. So Cārvāka school admit only 4 elements: earth, water, fire and air. Because according to Cārvāka school, whatever you see, seeing is believing. Ether you can't see. So therefore they don't accept even ether. Earth, water, fire and air. At least air you may not be able to see, but you can perceive with your touch sensation. So they accept only 4 elements. So it is a doctrine based exclusively on sensory data. They don't acknowledge ether, the Atma or Ishvara. So the elements are considered eternal, but their combinations undergo different modifications and dissolution. Earth, water, fire and air are eternal, but they combine and then get disintegrated. So consciousness is a byproduct of matter. So it is produced when the elements combine into a particular coalescence. Prabhupada's that life comes from life. That also Prabhupada attacked the Cārvāka philosophy, because they say life comes from chemicals. Although the elements separately do not possess it, just as fermented yeast produces an intoxicating quality. So elements combine into a particular coalescence to produce consciousness. Elements separately do not have consciousness, but when they combine, it becomes consciousness. Just like a fermented yeast produces an intoxicating quality. So there is one shloka. The Cārvāka school believes only in the seeing is believing. There's one interesting shloka where a person is trying to joke with the follower of the Cārvāka philosophy. So what is that shloka? Ka tavacharvangi jarato vikshya garbhinim pratyakshamatra vishwaso ganashvasam kimujjasi. Cārvāka, my dear follower of Cārvāka, since you have faith only in the direct evidence of your senses, why are you sighing so deeply? to see your lovely wife now pregnant by some other man. A follower of Cārvāka is there, his wife is pregnant. But that he didn't have union with his wife. But he is very troubled, anxious. The wife is pregnant. So another person is trying to say, see, you didn't see your wife having a union with some other man. So you believe only in the pratyaksha pramana. You didn't see that. So therefore, why are you actually sighing so deeply? So this is therefore pratyaksha pramana is, we use pratyaksha pramana, but accepting only pratyaksha pramana, by that one cannot lead the life. Even ordinary dealings also we cannot, because many times we have to put faith. So in Cārvāka, consciousness is observed to be associated with the body and it disappears when the body disintegrates. So according to Cārvāka, just the conscious living body, Atma is same as the body. So according to him, the pronoun I refers to the empirical self, the body only. One uses the pronoun I to refer to the gross physical body when one makes statements, I am fat, I am thick, I am weak. So this is because the body alone is the true self. As such, it is very dear to all beings and they try to protect it at any cost. Everyone tries to protect the body at any cost. Therefore, body is the Atma. And a person sacrifices anything for the sake of his body. And it is also said in the Panchatantra that Tyajedekam kulasyarte gramasyarte kulam tyajed gramam janapadasyarte swatmarte prativim tyajed. That one should abandon, somebody can read the translation, one should abandon a family member.
One should abandon a family member to protect the whole family, sacrifice the family for the sake of a village, disown a village to safeguard a district. But to protect the self, the Atma, one should give up the whole year.
So Cārvāka school awards that the Atma in this verse is used for the body. So in this particular Panchatantra shloka, Cārvāka says that the Atma referred in the shloka, Panchatantra shloka, it refers to the body. So according to the Siddhi-traya of the Yamunacharya, there are various theories of Atma within the Cārvāka school. Some people say Atma is the gross body. Some people say Atma refers to the senses. Some people say Atma is the body. Atma is the mind or the prana. These are all various categories within the Cārvāka school. Because we don't have access to the original works of the school, it is hard to say what exactly their view entailed. So the knowledge we have is only from the works of the other schools who may have addressed only the weakest points in their metaphysics with a view to refute them. So Cārvāka school, basically there are different viewpoints. The Atma is the body, Atma is the mind, or Atma is the senses. Atma is the life here. Like that. So from the name Lokayata, it appears that their philosophy was materialism. Lokayata. Like the modern scientists who treat consciousness as a combination of chemicals, as a byproduct of the body. So Dr. Radhakrishna writes that Lokayata, directed to the world of sense, is the Sanskrit word for materialism. So Lokayata refers to materialism. So the seed conception of materialism can be found in the Upanishads. So Taittiriya Upanishad says that Nava are patyuk kamaya. No. Taittiriya Upanishad says that Annat Purushaha Sava Yesha Purusho Anna Rasamayaha Ayam Atma. Indeed, this body made of the essence of food is the self. In the Brihadaranyaka, it is an interesting passage. Yajnavalkya says, Nava are patyuk kamaya pati priyo bhavati. Atmanastu kamaya pati priyo bhavati. A husband is not dear for the sake of the husband, but for the sake of the Atma. Similarly, it's also said that a wife is not dear for the sake of the wife, but for the Atma. So, Cārvāka school says that Atma is nothing but the body. Consciousness is the combination of chemicals. So, according to Cārvāka, the Atma refers to the body of the husband. Atma here refers to the body of the husband. Because the wife loves the husband's body, not something invisible beyond the body. If one objects that the wife does not love the dead body of her husband, Cārvāka replies that that is so because the consciousness in the body ceases to function. So Cārvāka gives an argument because the consciousness is not functioning, therefore the dead body of the husband is not loved by the wife. But the living body of the husband, that is the Atma, that is loved by the wife. So for the Cārvāka school, death means the consciousness, which is a byproduct of the body, comes to an end. So in the Vishnu Purana, we find Maya Moha's instructions to the Daityas, which conform to materialism. Similarly, we can also see certain instances in Ramayana. There is this, when Ram was in Chitrakoot, Bharat Maharaj came to receive Lord Ram, to take back Ram back to Ayodhya. That time, one of the ministers called as Jabali, he told Lord Ram, why are you worried about following the words of your father, Dasharath? After death, there is no life after death. Everything is finished at the time of death. So you don't have to worry about Papa and Punya following the words of your father. Your father is dead and gone. You just enjoy your life. Ayodhya kingdom is waiting for you. Just come and enjoy. That is the goal of life. So Jabali spoke the Cārvāka philosophy, but with the intention to bring Lord Ram back to Ayodhya. So Lord Ram chastised Jabali. How is it that my father Dasharatha, he has appointed a atheistic Nastika as his minister? It is surprising. And so reference comes in Ramayana and Mahabharata also. So Jabali spoke the Cārvāka philosophy. The philosophy of the Atmas being equated with the body, senses and mind or the vital air has been refuted in the Tattva Sandarbha. Anuccheda 53 to 60. This is the first school, Cārvāka school visa. And then Buddhism. Briefly, we'll see. The Gautama Buddha does not make any definite statement about the Atma only. So he spoke 5 skandhas or aggregates which constitute the body and mind of all sentient beings. So the pronoun I may refer to any one of these or all of them collectively. So Buddhism does not speak about, he only spoke about the 5 skandhas. So first is the rupa or form consisting of the 4 primary elements, earth, water, fire and air, which provide corporeality to the body and senses. And then Vedana or feelings in the form of pleasure, pain and indifference, arising out of contact with the 5 senses and the mind. And then there is Sanya or conceptual knowledge or perception related to the 5 senses and the mind. And then there is Sankara or Samskara or volitional states in connection with the form, sound, smell, objects. And then there is Vijnana, that is consciousness, which is also related to the 5 senses and the mind. So Buddhism talks about these 5 skandhas, which constitute the body and mind of all sentient beings. So Rupa, which consists of earth, water, fire and ether. Vedana, the feelings. Sanya, the conceptual knowledge or perception. And Samskara and Vijnana. So in regards to the Buddhist view, Dr. Radhakrishna writes, somebody can read this, while agreeing with the Upanishads.
While agreeing with the Upanishads that the world of origination, disease, and suffering is not the true refuge of the soul, Buddha is silent about the Atman initiated in the Upanishads. He neither affirms nor denies its existence. Buddha contents himself with a physical phenomenon and does not venture to put forth any theory of the soul. To posit a soul seemed to Buddha to step beyond the descriptive standpoint. What we know is the phenomenon self. Buddha knows there is something else. He is never willing to admit that the soul is only a combination of elements, but he refuses to speculate on what else it may be. The reason for Buddha's ambivalence in regard to the Atma is that he disregarded.
So Buddha basically is silent about Atma. He doesn't speak about Atma. Neither affirms it nor denies it. So he is never willing to admit that the soul is only a combination of elements, but he refuses to speculate on what else it may be. So at least the Cārvāka school admits that soul is a combination of elements. Soul is a combination of matter. But Buddhist school does not even admit that. The Buddhist school does not speak anything about Atma. And he refuses to speculate on what else it may be. It neither defines Atma, nor does he speculate on Atma. The reason for the Buddhist ambivalence means the ambivalence means mixed feelings or emotions. So Buddha is neither affirming nor actually denying. Is neither affirming nor denies his existence. The reason for Buddha's ambivalence in regard to the Atma is that he disregarded the Vedic authority and sought to establish his path exclusively on the basis of experience and logic. Buddha rejected the Vedas and he came up with a philosophy based on experience and logic. However, the later followers of Buddha, like Nagarjuna, adopted a definitive stand on Atma's non-existence in exclusion of the five skandhas. So, later followers of Buddha, they specifically told about the Atma's non-existence. And there are various schools of Buddhism having different opinions about the objective world and its perceiver. One of the most popular schools is the Vijnanavada or Yogachara, regarded as a form of subjective idealism. So according to the school, consciousness alone exists and fluctuates at every moment. So every phenomenal appearance is momentary. So everything that arises out of causes and conditions is necessarily impermanent. So the preceding moment is the cause of the succeeding moment. Change is the law of the universe. So according to Buddhist this one, phenomenal appearance is momentary. At every moment, something arises and it gets destroyed, and again, next moment it arises. So change is the law of the universe. External objects do not exist outside of thought or ideation. There are actually no external objects. It is only our thought. So the empirical ego is also unreal. The apparent objects of the world are like a river that flows constantly. By showing this mobile phone, according to Buddhist moment, the mobile phone is getting produced, and the next moment it gets destroyed. Again, the next moment it is produced. Again, the next moment it gets destroyed. So it is constantly getting produced and destroyed. So the objects of the world are like a river that flows constantly. So according to Buddhism, they say that everything in this world is momentary. This mobile exists only for one moment, and the next moment it is produced, and then that exists for one moment. Again, next moment it is produced. So consciousness manifests itself both as a subject as well as the object. It arises out of its own seed and then manifests itself as an external object. So just as in a dream, mental objects are projected out of one's own consciousness, similarly, in the waking state, empirical objects are produced, but percepts pointed out of the store of empirical objects are, but percepts projected out of the store of consciousness. Just like in the dream, mental objects are projected out of one's own consciousness. Similarly, in the waking state, the empirical phenomenal objects are produced at every moment. There is neither subject nor object, but only a succession of the ideas. There is no karta and karma. There is only a succession of ideas. So this is something briefly about Buddhism. So we discussed the Cārvāka idea of Atma and Buddhist idea of Atma. And then we'll discuss next class. Jainism idea of the Atma, and then Nyaya Vaisheshika school's idea of Atma. Mimamsa school, what is their idea of Atma? And Yoga and Sankhya and Advaita Vedanta. So it's a long purpose. So next week we'll continue. Anybody has any questions? Little philosophical. I request you to go through it again.
Prabhuji, is there when you have to recite Om, is it only those who are initiated, Brahman initiated, or though they only can?
Yeah,
Is it like that?
Pranava you can say, but Om is supposed to be chanted only by those who are wise born. We can chant, we can say Pranava, anybody, but Om can be chanted by those who are wise born.
So that last ma you don't have to say then. If you're not Brahmin initiated, then you just say AU. Like, is that like that? I mean,
We
supposing
can just say the word Pranava mantra. We say the Pranava mantra. Yeah, when somebody is not Brahman Diksha, then we don't chant that Om syllable. We say Pranava mantra.
Okay.
Okay. Any other question?
You hear me? Hare Krishna.
Yes. No.
I mean, I have very basic.
Your voice is very feeble.
Okay. Is it better now, Prabhuji?
Yes.
It's a very basic this one. When you were discussing this Swarupa Lakshan, that is the Lakshan of the soul. So the soul, as such, all the souls have all these characteristics which are common, right? As we were reading, Achedyo, Yam, Nakledyo, all these are common, right, Prabhuji?
Yes.
So what is it that distinguishes it from? So then where does that variegatedness occur, manifest?
How do we distinguish one soul from another soul?
Yeah.
So here, Swarupa Lakshana is helping us to distinguish one soul from everything other than soul. Swarupa Lakshana is helping us to distinguish soul from anything which is not soul.
Not a soul, yes. From material, I mean, which means the spirit from the material. That means.
Yes.
Okay. But where does the difference between the this one in terms of its consciousness, characteristics? So where does that actually manifest, Prabhuji?
They are the listen. Can you repeat again this question?
No, I'm just saying, see, the variegatedness differ, right? So one soul is, I'm different from you, you are different from. So,
Correct.
but we all have the common Swarup Lakshan, right, Prabhuji? See these things. So,
Yes.
so where does this difference actually begin? Manifest, like even in spiritual world, as per the understanding, there is no different. In the material world, there's a difference. The body is different, and the soul and the jiva is different, right? But in material, so spiritual world, they are the same. There is no different. But in spite of that, the variegatedness do exist. There are different types of rasas. There are different types of people with different interest. I mean, the sense different types of rasas exist. So where does this difference actually when the Swarup Lakshan is the same? So how does this difference or the variegatedness manifest?
Based on the different moods of the Jivatma. Every Jivatma has a different mood of serving Krishna. Therefore, there is a variegatedness.
Yeah, so that's what. So that mood is from which element does it come? Which means, is there something that is, that is not similar or that is not the same between two atmas, right? That should be some difference between the two atmas, right? So what is it that actually is it that the consciousness or what is it this one? And is it an inherent character of the jiva, or Krishna gives the jiva that particular identity? I mean, like I am attached to such a rasa. I am attached to such a such a mood, such a bhav, right? So where does it actually come from?
In the case of the Nitya Siddhas, they are eternally, from beginningless time, they are having that particular mode. In the case of Sadhana Siddhas, the devotee by sadhana who achieved perfection, or the Kripa Siddhas or Sadhana Siddhas, the devotee, depending on the type of association he gets, depending on the type of a devotee sadhu or association he gets, and depending on his individual endeavor, he actually prefers to love Krishna in a particular mood.
Right, Prabhuji, that I understand. But the basic, suppose say the Satchit Ananda, right? The three components, okay, for the principal components that that describes a soul. Usman. So among this, which is the one that gives rise to the variegatedness in this bhav, in the difference in the consciousness, the difference in the interest. So what is that? I think that's what I'm just. So is it the chit factor that gives
The
rise
Ananda aspect, we can say.
Okay, Ananda.
Because all the souls are conscious, eternal.
Ah.
But Ananda varies. There is a gradation of the Ananda within the different rasas. Although one feels completely full, but there is a variegatedness in that Ananda.
Okay.
Sakya rasa, Dasya rasa, Madhurya. There is a variegatedness in that Ananda. Transcendental gradation. Although one feels completely full, but there is a variegated.
Okay. So that is the one that distinguish I mean one jiva from the other. Can we say that Prabhuji functionally?
Functionally.
Yes, right. So that holds good in the material realm also, right? So like I get attached to certain things. I develop, I mean icha or dvesh. According to, is it that also is because of that Ananda factor? Can we say, Prabhuji? I mean, which is a seed? Is that Ananda factor is the seed of these different types of emotions, feelings, all these two?
We can Ananda, and also we can say the Chitta aspect, depending on the type of knowledge of the particular rasa we get. A person tries to pursue that relationship. The knowledge, some person gets knowledge about the particular form of the Lord, particular way in which a Lord is served by a devotee, and then he wants to obtain a similar love. So based on that knowledge and also the Ananda, different devotees serve the Lord in different moods, and therefore, and those different moods are different from each other. So therefore, different devotees experience different levels of Ananda.
Okay.
And also different types of knowledge a person gets.
So basically the chit and the Ananda factor.
Yes, chit and Ananda.
Yeah. Okay, Prabhuji. And one more thing, Prabhuji, this I mean regarding this regulator, like Paramatma is the regulator and the Jīva-tattva are the regulated. Now, Prabhuji, like, so this is good, this holds good in the material realm, right? So in the spiritual realm, so what is this? It is said that that the Nitya Siddhas there, the residents there, they don't have Paramatma within their body, right?
Bhagavan only plays the role of Paramatma.
Okay. So which means he directly directs them. That's what.
Yes.
Okay. So that is, which means he is, it is not necessary for him to be seated in their heart. Like Sarvasya Chakam Riti Sannivishto, it does not hold good in spiritual realm, but directly he perceives their emotions since they are on the same plane. So he directly perceives their emotions, their desires, and then he satisfies them accordingly. So that way, okay.
There is no Paramatma like in the material world, Upadrashta, Anumanta, Chabarta, Bhokta, Maheshwaraha. Like that, the Paramatma is not there in the spiritual realm. The spiritual realm, there is only Bhagavan and his effulgence, Brahma.
Okay, so there is direct contact with the Bhagavan there. So he directs. Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. And then just, just as this one, So the Cārvāka, this one, the philosophy that we discussed. So, like, why so much of importance is, importance, the sense, emphasis is given even by Jiva Goswami here, in spite of knowing that it is, full atheistic philosophy. Is it just to, it's more relevant in today's world? Is that because of that?
Well, Jiva Goswami is not in his work. Jiva Goswami is writing. He's not discussing in detail about Cārvāka. Only in the
Commentary, yes.
Commentary, Satyanarayan Babaji. Jiva Goswami is just going to describe the 21 qualities of the Tatastha Lakshana, Swarupa Lakshana of the Jivatma. And then he will give pramana from Bhagavatam for each of those qualities. But the Satyanarayan Babaji Maharaj, there's a commentary. Before understanding the actual Swarupa Lakshana of the Jivatma, he is also just for educational sake, is actually giving the understanding of the Jivatma in other schools.
Yeah, and which is, as you said, 99% of the population today's world is follower of this particular, knowingly or unknowingly, right? Which is more relevant also actually today. So we could appreciate, that way to see. Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. As you said, it's technical, and then unless one is very, go through it, revise it, I think it's going to be little this one. But you made it.
Even if we just have a basic understanding what is Cārvāka school. And what is the basic understanding of the Buddhist school. And just that is sufficient. At least we know, we may not remember all the details, but the basic understanding of the school, what is their viewpoint about Jivatma in their school. And that can be helpful. Even this information can be helpful even in the Gita course also. Even we may not go into all details, but it can be helpful to present some brief summary sometimes. When you present about the Jivatma, what the different people have, what is their idea about the Jivatma, because ultimately what understanding we have, that understanding shapes our desires and that shapes our actions.
Right.
So people, based on their understanding of the Jivatma, if they understand Jivatma is the body and Jivatma is temporary, after death Jivatma is dead. Based on their understanding, they have a particular thought process and that leads to particular actions. So, therefore, this can be helpful even in the like beginners Gita course, this one. We can at least have a basic understanding of this. So, in this, today we discuss about Cārvāka and Buddhism. Next class we'll discuss about Jainism, Nyaya Vaisheshika, Mimamsa school, then Yoga and Sankhya school, what is their view about Jivatma, and then Advaita Vedanta school. So some of their viewpoints about Jivatma will be correct, but from the Shastra. But some of their understanding of Jivatma will be different from the Shastra. And then when we understand the actual Swarupa Lakshana of the Jivatma, after getting the wrong understanding of the Jivatma of the various schools, and then when we see the Swarupa Lakshana of the Jivatma, where these other schools go wrong, and what is the correct understanding of the Jivatma, then we'll be able to even we'll be able to appreciate the understanding of the Jivatma even more better, more deeply. To get an understanding of the Jivatma, what it is not, what is the wrong understanding and what is the right understanding. When you get both, then it becomes a more thorough understanding of the subject matter.
Yeah, you made it very interesting, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Otherwise,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, you have another class right now?
No.
So, one quick question. So whenever there is a shloka starting like this, Pavitravas, that it starts with that Om, right? So that we are not supposed to say. So I've still not understood when you said, then you say Pranav mantra. So Pranav mantra is Om only, no? So I'm not.
We can, those who are not, suppose Brahman initiated, they can chant as a pranava mantra. They can chant. It's a that's a traditional. They can say pranava mantra. They can refer to the Om as a pranava mantra. But in Bhagavad Gita, Om ityekaksharam brahma vyakaranmam anusmaran. So as part of the Bhagavad Gita, one can chant that. Bhagavad Gita, the shloka comes Om ityekaksharam brahman vyakaranmam anusmaran. But when we chant the Vedic mantras, when the Om comes, Vedic mantras are chanted by those who are twice born, Vijay.
So pranava mantra means Om only, right? Right?
Yes.
Am I saying? So supposing, I'm just saying, if there is a yagna and everybody is supposed to say, then like you have to half chant, like, or I mean,
No, there are certain Vedic mantras can be chanted by everyone. Some exceptions are there. So sometimes in part of the Vedic yajna, they tell all the participants to chant. Those who are not wise one. Certain exceptions are there. When they say that time we can chant.
so just wanting to share that with Shyamla Mataji, like I was very much attached to Brahma Kumaris for quite some time. And when I came to ISKCON, I started hearing the lectures and interaction and all. And that time I was able to, like Prabhuji said, no, appreciate, the philosophy here, and know much better. And things were clear, clear, like, there everything was just abstract. And I mean, I was not getting my answers there. So that way I think it really helps when you study the wrong things. I mean, I don't know whether I should say like that. Then you can say what philosophy like Prabhupada has given us, like,
Yes. Yeah,
True, Mataji. Even
it's true actually.
even for those belonging to the same one, so we understand its glory only when we have a comparison study, right? When we think we know its actual glories only when we compare it with other philosophy and how glorious ours is. So for such a things, I mean, we do need such knowledge.
And this method is there in the Bhagavad Gita, Uddhava Gita. Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna, although ultimately he concludes with the Bhakti Yoga, Manmana Bhava Madbhakto, but Krishna speaks about Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. So he speaks about other things. Uddhava Gita also, he speaks other yogas also, although he concludes with the Bhakti Yoga. So that the conviction on Bhakti Yoga becomes even more solidified.
some shloka, I think 7.3 or 7.9 or something, such a soul is rare, no? Like that, something is there, no?
Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kaschit Yatati Siddhaye Yatatam Api Siddhanam Kaschinmam Veti Tatvataka. 7.3.
And also, like, I mean, this is not in my stage, but when you're talking to people, like, and they say that this is what they believe, so then we have something to speak on. Like, if we've studied under you, we can always say, okay, this philosophy is this, but this is what we say. That way, it'd be nice. Otherwise, it's an embarrassment when you just can't answer. It's like that. So it's nice to hear this, as Shyamla Mataji said. Comparative study. Yeah.
We have to, when we understand the Purva Paksha of the Cārvāka, what is the Cārvāka philosophy, and then when you pose a corresponding counter argument, they say body is the soul. Soul is nothing but the body. And then we give counter argument. Buddhism or Jainism, they have different viewpoints. And then we give a counter argument. Then it becomes even more thorough study. That also, I think, we will see. Jiva Goswami just quotes Atma's characteristics or Rupa Lakshana. And then some of the other literatures say, for example, I attended one course recently on refuting the atheism So, Nyaya school has refuted the Cārvāka philosophy. In the Nyaya philosophy, Nyaya Shastra, they refuted the Cārvāka philosophy. One of the aspects of Cārvāka philosophy is that there is no God, there is no Ishvara. So, Nyaya school has given various arguments, and then for each argument, Cārvāka school has a counter argument, and then further counter argument. Like that, Nyaya school has refuted the Cārvāka philosophy. So I attended one course recently on that. So these will be useful in our Gita course also. Gita course also, we present certain arguments in a simple way. Proof for the existence of God. Everyone has a need to worship somebody. Creation implies a creator. Design implies a designer. We present some simple arguments. Little more finer arguments are there. Nyaya school has refuted. But in Nyaya school, they prove the existence of the Atma, they prove the existence of the Ishvara. But in the Nyaya school, when they talk about Atma, one of the aspects of Atma is that they say every Atma is all-pervading. My Atma is also all-pervading, your Atma is also all-pervading. This is one of the understanding of the Nyaya school on the Atma. But this understanding of the Nyaya schools on Atma, that is wrong from the Vedanta point of view. Because from the Vedanta point of view, we just studied both in Padma Puran Shloka and Jamatri Muni, Atma is described as Anu Parimana. But according to Nyaya school, Atma is Vibhu Parimana, it is all pervading. So that then we may take the Nyaya school's arguments to refute the Cārvāka philosophy. And then later, we have to refute the Nyaya understanding of the Atma, that the Atma is all-pervading. We have to refute that aspect based on the Vedanta section. So like that, every school, some aspect of Jīva-tattva, they have a wrong understanding from the Vedanta point of view. Some understanding of the Jīva-tattva is correct. Some understanding is wrong. And then there are some schools which are very far away from the true understanding of the Jīva-tattva. That is Cārvāka philosophy and Buddhism. And maybe Jainism also, we'll see. Some schools have partially right understanding, some partially wrong understanding. Then finally, when we see the Vedanta, Vedic understanding of the Atma, that is the Padma Purana shlokas. And then for each characteristic, we see the corresponding Bhagavata Pramana. So every understanding, based on the understanding, that leads to the particular desire, thought process. And that shapes our goal. And that shapes our action. That shapes our what path we want to follow. So therefore, the correct Siddhanta, Siddhanta understanding should be very important. Correct understanding of Siddhanta. Okay.
Yeah, that's why he says no that he's constitutionally a servant of Bhagwan Hari alone and never of anyone else.
Yes.
That becomes. So Prabhuji, the Cārvāka, some ghee also was there. Some, I don't know, I faintly remember.
What
was that?
Grinam Krutva Gritam Pibet Yavat Jivet Sukham Jivet Basmi Bhutasya Dehasya Kuta Punar Agamano Bhavet. They beg, borrow or steal, but always eat food cooked in pure ghee. Because eating food cooked in pure ghee, that is considered to be the standard of enjoyment. Basically, he says, always just enjoy your life. Don't. For that, you can beg, borrow, or steal. Begging is considered to be, there are Subhashitas which say that if you have land, you do some agriculture. If you have knowledge, then be a Brahmana. If you have Kshatriya, then rule the kingdom. But never ever beg. Begging is considered to be something very low. Or borrowing. When you borrow, because Bhagavatam, Mahabharata says that Yudhishthira Maharaj says that a happy person is somebody who does not have any debts. So when we borrow, we go into anxiety mode. And stealing. So naturally you get implicated in papa. But Cārvāka says that beg, borrow or steal, but just enjoy your life to the fullest extent. Don't worry about papa punya because there is no life after death. Basmi bhutasya dehasya kuta punaragamano bhavet. Once the body is turned into ashes, then that's the end of the life. There is no life after death. Yavat jivet sukam jivet. As long as you are living, just enjoy your life like that.
So then why did the minister say this for Ram? Like just to get him back or something?
Because Ram went to forest to to follow the words of his father. Because to follow the dharma of the son is to follow the words of the father. Ram has come to establish the Samanya Dharma. So when we follow dharma, because according to Shastra, Sukasya Moolam Dharma. The basis of happiness is you perform dharma. That is the more you perform dharma, more you get happiness. That is the first Chanakya Sutra. Sukasya Moolam Dharma. So Ram wanted to follow how one should live the life by following dharma. But Jabali wanted Ram to come back to Ayodhya. He said, don't worry about this dharma of following the order of the father. Don't think that you will become sinful because there is no life after death. Like that, he spoke the atheistic philosophy but with a divine purpose. Hiranyakashipu spoke the right philosophy but with a wrong purpose. Hiranyakashipu pacified the relatives by speaking about the difference between Atma and the body. He spoke about the Atma. He spoke the right philosophy, but with the wrong purpose. He wanted to kill Vishnu. But here, Jabali spoke the right philosophy, wrong philosophy with the right purpose. Krishna spoke the Karma Mimamsa philosophy, the wrong philosophy, but with the right purpose. What is the right purpose? In order to start the Govardhan Puja. So, yeah, ideally, the purpose and the decision, both should be proper in order to create the legacy. Like today morning, Nityanand Prabhu gave class. When Vibhishan came to surrender to Lord Ram, Hanuman told Lord Ram to accept Vibhishan. Sugriva told Lord Ram to not to accept Vibhishan. Sugriva told Vibhishan is a asura. He can actually, Rakshasa, he can harm you. Therefore, don't accept him. Hanuman said, no, he is a good person. He can be accepted. So, Lord Ram accepted the decision of Hanuman, but not the reason Hanuman. But Lord Ram accepted the reasoning of Sugriva, but not the decision of Sugriva. He addressed both actually. Lord Ram said, I am going to accept Vibhishan not because he is good or bad. The reason is because he has come to take shelter of me. If a person come to take shelter of me, I will always give him shelter. I will give him protection. Not because he is good or bad. Whether he has a good intention or evil intention, but he has come to take shelter of me, therefore I will give him shelter. So that way he accepted only the decision, proposal of Hanuman, but not the reason given by Hanuman. But Lord Ram accepted the reasoning of Sugriva, but he did not accept the decision. And for the reasoning, he understood, he appreciated the concern of Sugriva, but then he said that, like, even if suppose Vibhishan tries to harm me, I can easily tackle that. Just with my angula, just with my angushta, I can actually crush the entire Rakshasa army. So what to speak of this Vibhishan? So therefore, even if Vibhishan misuses my shelter, I can actually easily tackle that. So therefore, ideally, there should be intention and the decision, both should be proper for creating a right legacy. Hare Krishna.
They should be in alignment, like your intention, thought.
Both should be in according to Dharma.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I think we'll end
Prabhu,
here.
you send it by tonight. So then tomorrow,
send it.
Sunday, we can learn the.
Next class, I'll let you know. Thursday. Yeah, we can have till the evening 9 o'clock. I have a class. Either after 9 o'clock we can have for maybe for 45 minutes, or in the daytime, one of the weekdays we can have daytime class. I'll mention in the group.
Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Nantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Matas.
Hare Krishna.